Okay, here it goes. So I'm going to answer this question. Do abusers change? And I think that they do not. They do not change. So if you think that whoever is abusing you financially, abusing you sexually, that may be in a relationship, okay, because it's still sexual abuse, even if it's in a relationship. If somebody is emotionally abusing you, criticizing you, always putting you down, putting in these, snide comments and stuff like that, emotionally abusing you, lying all the time, psychologically abusing you, okay, physical abuse, we all know about that. If that person is doing that today, okay, they're probably going to do it tomorrow, okay, next year, 2 years down the line, 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, okay, maybe even 35 years down the line, they're still going to do the same thing, okay. If you ask any victim of abuse who's been in a relationship with their, husband or partner or whatever, it could be a wife as well, and they've been in there for like, a couple decades, okay? How do you think that happened? How do you think that happened? And if you tell them, when did this abuse start? It wasn't last year, they'll probably say it started about 15 years ago, it started about 20 years ago, or, since we got married or since we got together or whatever, she's been abusing me or he's been abusing me or whatever. Okay. So it doesn't change. So if you've been with an abusive partner for, a couple months, sometimes, a couple years, what do you think is going to change? What do you think is going to change? How does a person become, abusive for 15 years, 10 years, 35 years? Okay. It didn't just start today. Okay. That victim took the person back over and over and over again, okay? Taking away their youth, taking away their happiness, taking away, the good parts of themselves, okay? Because you have to devote yourself to this abusive relationship. You have to give yourself away. You have to put yourself on the back burner and say, I'm not important, okay? This abusive relationship is more important than me. I have to surrender all my needs, all my wants, all my cares, all my values, or, whatever I want in order to stay in this relationship. And I'm just here to tell anybody that is struggling in any kind of abusive situation, and some of us may not even want to admit that our situation is abusive because a lot of people think, oh, if, well, my partner doesn't abuse me physically. And everybody thinks that that's just kind of the main abuse. Okay. If they're not putting their hands on you, then it's not abuse. Well, as I just mentioned, there are so many other forms of abuse: financial, sexual, psychological, emotional as well, so many forms of abuse, spiritual. All of these things are abuse. So just because somebody isn't putting their hands on you does not mean that they're not abusing you, mentally. Okay. Now, I'm just here to tell anybody who's stuck inside this cycle, because it is a cycle. It goes round and round and round. They do something. You say, oh, that's it. The relationship is over, go back, to where you came from, kind of thing. And then what happens? Don't worry, I'm going to change. I promise. It was a mistake. This and that. It was a misunderstanding. Da, 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 da. They'll beg you back. And what happens? You trust them again. Why? Because the relationship is so important to you. Maybe a marriage and you don't want to give up the marriage. Maybe you have kids with the person. You don't want a broken home. All sorts of reasons why you want to attach yourself to this person, okay? And why you want to attach yourself to this relationship. But I'm here to tell you there are so many good relationships out there that don't actually have any abuse. You don't have to put up with this, okay? Because let me tell you, it is not going to change. If that person has been in their marriage or their relationship for 15 years and the person still hasn't changed, why do you think yours is going to change? Why do you think your abuser is going to change? But the woman or the man who's been in their relationship for 30 years and the woman is still abusing him, or the man is still abusing her and it's been 30 years, and they're still holding on to this chance that the person's going to change, they are not going to change, And let's not even talk about 30 years and stuff like that. It happens, with relationships, 10 years, 2 years, 5 years. It's all too much. Like, once you see somebody is being abusive, any kind of abuse, okay? anything that you're not comfortable with, whether that be emotional, spiritual, financial, whatever is making you uncomfortable and doesn't sit well with you. Okay, maybe the person's criticizing you, belittling you, shouting at you in public, in front of your friends, or even behind closed doors, just belittling you, shaming you, that kind of thing, taking all your money, that's financial abuse, taking out credit lines in your name and doing all sorts of things, saying they're going to pay certain bills, but they're not paying them and you end up paying for them all, spiritual abuse, trying to get you to measure up to this, holy and spiritual person and belittling you and shaming you for not doing that, or saying that you should be doing this as it says this in the holy book and you're not that, and stuff like that, making you feel like you're falling short, like whatever kind of abuse, it doesn't stop. So once you see that a person is abusive in some type of capacity, you need to start thinking about leaving that person, because you will turn around and say, well, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, it's been 5 years, I've broken up with this person 1,000,000 times. Like, that is like a key sign. If you guys have broken up like 3,000 times and then, she begs for you to come back, and then, you take her back and then she does the same thing all over again, or a different form of abuse, and then you take her back again, or, it might be a him, you take him back after cheating on you and, going with his ex-girlfriend or finding new girls out there and, taking your car all around town and doing all of that. Spiritually abusing, emotionally abusing you, talking about, comparing you to other females and saying, you don't measure up kind of thing, talking about your body, talking about different things about you. Like, that's just emotional abuse, because it's making you feel bad about yourself. Why would you want to stay with somebody who makes you feel bad about yourself? You want somebody that's going to make you feel good, And this is not to say relationships do not have ups and downs, because every relationship does. But when it gets to the point of being abusive, okay, where there's personal attacks going on, okay, even sexual abuse in a marriage or a relationship, if it's not consensual, then that is still abuse. It's still sexual abuse, even if you're in a relationship with the person, okay? We need to stop making excuses for the abuser. There is no excuse to abuse somebody. And I always try to tell people, there are so many people in this world, but you are not going to find another person who is not abusive, because they do exist, okay? If you keep hanging on to this abuser, and they will make it so that you can't leave by putting you through this emotional roller coaster, doing wonderful things, wonderful gestures to get you back. And you're thinking, maybe they have changed. Maybe there is a chance for this person to change. They'll do all the right things, singing all the right songs and all of that, getting you your favorite, what have you, to get you back, taking you on the best trips or whatever, buying you those shoes that you always wanted, and, doing all the right things to get you back. And then what do? The same thing, okay? So it's going to keep going on for years, okay? I was just talking to somebody who... I say hopefully is ending their 15-year marriage. And, I say hopefully because I hope it's over. I do, Some people say, oh, Zara, that's mean. How can you say that? How can you say, you want somebody's relationship to be over? I do. If it's abusive, yes, I want it over. Because I don't know why that you would subject yourself to an abusive situation. I think everybody is more than that, Abusers don't change. So we have to leave them to it, We have to leave them to it. We cannot subscribe ourselves and be like, you know what? I'm the one that's going to cause him to change, It's me. I'm the savior. I'm the one that's going to come in and all of a sudden he's going to change his antics. He's going to change his ways just because he's with me. Or she's all of a sudden going to change her abusive and manipulative ways because I'm in her life. I'm going to change her. Why do you want to be the one to subscribe yourself, okay, to be at the hand of her abuse or his abuse? Why are you the one, If I see somebody's abusive, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, you're abusive. Okay, bye. Because I know that there's other guys out there who are not abusive. So why would I subscribe myself to that? And I say again, I say again, because there's people that have a pattern of just going through abusers, oh, all my girlfriends seem to abuse me, or all my boyfriends seem to abuse me. Like, listen here, once was enough for me. Once, okay? Now I know the traits. Because I've been through it, now I know the traits to pick up on, Before I wouldn't have seen it as abuse. I would just think, questionable personality, but I wouldn't have called it abuse. Why? Because I wasn't educated on what abuse is and what abuse isn't. Now I can call it for what it is. So I could never subscribe myself to that again, because I know the pain that I had to go through, in my short term, I say short term, but it felt like a lifetime abusive relationship, that lasted about 2.5 years. And I think that was way too long. It would have been a lot shorter if I didn't have the flying monkeys coming in. I call them the tertiary abusers, because sometimes in an abusive relationship, you have other people who are enabling the abuser. So if you're like, this is the last straw, and these are mostly friends or family members, or in my particular situation, it was religious leaders that were enabling the abuser in my life, because when I would want to leave and be like, I've had enough of this is over, blah 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 blah, then they would hit me with the scriptures. Oh no, God hates divorce. You're gonna go to hell, you're gonna do all of this stuff, you don't want to do that, give them another chance, you got to pray for them, you got to do this, you got to do that, give it another chance, be a faithful woman, or what have you. And I'm like, no, like, nobody should be subscribing themselves to this. Like, you do not have to give your life to a relationship. You do not have to lay down your life to be in a relationship. If it's causing you pain, like, I don't know what gain can really balance the scales of why this relationship is worth it, because if it comes with abuse, I just think it's not worth it. Because why? It's messing with your mental health, it's messing with your mental capacity, it's messing with your self-worth, it's messing with you, and I think that's deep. That is so deep for a relationship to have that much kind of negative impact on your mind. The mind is such a powerful tool that you need to shape your life. And if that is being hindered, okay, by this abusive relationship, I'm sorry, but that, there is no return that is worth it to me. There is absolutely no return on this earth that is worth it. So what I'm here to say is that abusers do not change, okay? If somebody is abusing you today, seriously, tomorrow, next year, 2 years later, I can guarantee you they will still be abusing you. It's only you that has the power to say, no, enough